Hey, this is Aaron. As you can see, I'm with the all-new Ford Bronco. This is the 2021 in the first edition package. That package is sold out, so don't even try. Anyway, it's a little dirty. I tried to clean it up. So, all-new Ford Bronco. This is the 2021 Bronco in the first edition with the Sasquatch package. I don't know what the Sasquatch means. Right? It's a big old word. Sam Squamch. If you get that reference. Alright, anyway. So, this is the full-size Bronco, not to be confused with the Bronco Sport, which is a small Bronco. That is based on the Ford Edge. This has much more akin with the F-150. So, in this package, you've got basically Ford going straight after the Jeep Wrangler, and they did a really good job of it. So I would not pit this against a Wrangler Rubicon for a couple of reasons. First, breakover isn't quite as good, and the there's no disconnecting sway bar, that sort of thing, so it is not a rock climber, but it is an extremely capable off-road machine. I'll show you some photos, a couple videos as we go along. You can see us blasting some mud puddles. I went up and down a hill that's a lot of fun, but this would not go up the big hill that I talk about fairly often, where you really do need like that Wrangler Rubicon or Dodge Power Wagon, that sort of capability. You can't do it in this. You can do it in a ZR2 if you have the smaller truck, so if you have the Colorado, but you won't do that hill with this, the Gladiator, vehicles like that, because they just don't have the breakover. You'll be smack in the middle of the truck constantly as you try to go down. Anyway, this is a great setup. Beautiful Ford blue here. It's got, you can see the front there. Some of that is package editions. I'll try to point things out as much as I can, but it's early. This is like only my second coffee and I've just started on it. So anyway, this is a wonderful, wonderful truck. Let me talk about the front end first, and then we'll move around to the side a little bit. So what you're seeing on the front, you can see the grill and then Bronco in large letters. It's amazing to me how many people assume this is a Jeep when they don't see the front or the rear end, and then they see it and they go, wait, right? Those big old knobby tires and the whole rest of the build is cool. So you can see the toe pins. You can see this guard is actually part of a package, and along with the bumper that's underneath it. So the standard version will not have that, but there's lots of options. I've been building these 3-4 times now on Ford's website, and there are tons of options for it. And then you can see the lights, and that's about all there is to see up front. I want to point out a couple of things, though. There's some really cool stuff. First off, these things right here are neat. They just look kind of cool. They're not functional, as far as I know, for any reason. They don't do anything, but they're really cool. Underneath here, we should talk about the engines now that I think about it, because I'm just kind of winging it here, which is actually how I normally do things. Anyway, base engine, 2.3 liter turbocharged 6. Pretty good engine. This one right here has the upgrade engine, which is a 2.7 liter. And that's, again, turbocharged and all of that. If you recognize that, it's because that is one of the engines that is in the Ford F-150. It's also in a couple of other Ford products in the larger SUVs. That's mated to a 10-speed transmission. Again, straight out of the F-150. It's a really good setup. So normally when I'm off-roading, I do not like turbochargers. They tend to kick in too fast. You tend to lose traction because you suddenly get extra wheel spin. This is really well done for two reasons. First one is when you want it to get up on the freeway, you want to get going, this engine will blah and make it happen. The sounds it makes are pretty good, but I'm pretty sure that's Ford enhancements. I don't think that's the actual engine sounds. I think it's enhancements in the cab to make it sound better. But it sounds really good, and it's definitely capable of getting up to freeway speeds without any issues whatsoever. Second thing is, the reason the turbo doesn't seem to be going blah, and yanking the truck around at all is because the truck is heavy. If this were smaller, like in the Ford Ranger, that's one of my #1 complaints, is that in that smaller truck, the turbo tends to jump a little bit, and that loses traction when you're off-road. In this, that was not an issue at all. I had no problems with that. So, very, very nice setup. You do have full 4-wheel drive that is low geared and everything, so you have a full-on transfer case. It's not, you know, just some all-wheel drive call that they're naming 4-wheel drive. You have controls for that on the inside. You have 4 high, you have two-wheel drive, this is rear-wheel drive normally. Then you have 4 high, 4 low, and you have 4A, which is sort of like basically all-wheel drive. It's 4 automatic, and you'll see that in Ford trucks all over the place. It's basically all-weather driving, all-wheel drive. That's kind of how I would describe it. It's all-wheel drive that kicks in when it needs to, but is otherwise 2-wheel drive. So your 4-wheel drive system won't kick in until you need it. Very cool setup. So let's go around the side so you can get a little more perspective on the size, and we'll talk about some other cool features. All right, if I haven't told you already, you probably should grab a coffee. This is going to be a long one. There's a lot to cover here. We're already over 5 minutes, but anyway, here's the side. So from this perspective, what you're seeing is you're seeing those beautiful wheels. Those are beadlock capable. It comes standard with these Goodyears. These are Territory MTs. They're pretty good tires. They're a good size for this for sure. Nice and beefy, lots of grip, and very wide. I believe they're 315/70s if I remember right. Those are 17-inch wheels. So you can see the rocker bar down on the bottom. You can see those aggressive tires. Behind them are the shocks and other things. Those, as far as I can tell, those are all Ford. So there's some sort of OEM. They are not like an upgrade like Fox or somebody. So these are the standard issue with the vehicle, and it's got a lot. The knuckles are very large. It's got a lot of really beefy stuff on it. That is the reason that it's so capable, because it can take a good knock. So you're looking at that. Then also look at the roof. You see how it's segmented. That's because the roof comes off. So the top section is in 2 pieces. You pull those off, no tools required. You just use your hands to twist some things. And the middle piece is in one big piece that comes off pretty easy. These are all one-man jobs. You can do it by yourself. I did it. The back part will require 2 people. You have to unbolt it from around the perimeter on the bottom and then lift it off, as the Broncos of old, and of course the Jeep Gladiator, etc. They all work like that. So that one will require 2 people, and that is the only one of the 3 that will not store in the truck. So you can't get that in the back of the truck. It's too big. Now the doors also come off, all 4 of them. So those are a pretty easy operation. You undo 2 bolts, you pull the door off. It unplugs itself because the plug is really, really well done. I'll try to get a close-up and show you. And those doors, again, store in the back of the truck. So the front doors, anyway, store in the back of the truck. Now, if you take the back doors off, you can get them in the back of the truck, but it's going to be kind of a tight squeeze. You'll have to stack them on top of things instead of in a row. So I'll walk in and give you kind of, here's an idea of some perspective, right? So this is how big this is. Again, this is not the Bronco Sport. Please stop saying what a piece of crap that is. That is not what this is, okay? I've posted this on social media all week, and I've had nothing but people saying it's not a real Bronco, because, yeah, they're not seeing this perspective. Anyway, so the way this works is all these pieces come off. This happens to have the little bags they go in, which is awesome because those bags have hooks that go on to the tie-downs in the cargo area here. And then they just stack vertically. So the back seat ends right about here. And then these pieces, they all just stack. Blah, 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 like that. And behind this, there is a roll bar, and that carries all the way forward. There is no crossbar. It's way back here. It's not up there, which is actually kind of cool. Gives you much more open air. So as far as all of that goes, the only thing a Jeep can do that this can't do in terms of taking it apart is the windshield on this does not fold down. Otherwise, just like a Jeep, which is what Ford was trying for. Ford is really definitely aiming for the Wrangler with this. And I think they did a really good job of that, because I like the fact that any of these off-road rigs, right, especially the Jeep Wrangler, which has basically reigned supreme forever with no real competition, is now seeing competition, and it's good competition. So I'm not going to say which one I would prefer because I don't think that's fair. This is the first year of this, but this is extremely capable, so the comparison would be very close. So if this weren't first, it would be a very close second, because they are very, very comparable in most ways. Couple things to note: when the door comes off, the mirror stays. That's something you can't get out of a Jeep, right? On the Jeep, they're attached to the door. Also, there is no window frame, so when you open it like this, if you take the door off, you roll the windows down first. And very, very cool setup, very, very easy. So I will point out a couple of things. One, these doors are extremely heavy, very, very heavy. So you can lift it. I had no problems doing it. Once you figure out the leverage, you reach over, you grab the handle just like you would in a Wrangler, and you lift and move. But you will want to use your knees because this is a very heavy door. So it's, in that way, it is not like a Jeep, where a Jeep I could basically one-hand a Jeep door. I can't do that with this. It is a much more substantial, you can see it's longer, it's a much more substantial door. So what that means in the long scheme of things, I don't know. It could be this is more crash resistant, or it could just be that there's a lot of crap in there. I don't know. But anyway, it's so that's kind of what I wanted to point out. It is very much a Wrangler attack. I'm not going to say it's a Wrangler killer. I'm going to say it's a Wrangler attack. And I'm glad to see that, because more competition means more good stuff. Let's go around the back and I'll show you the cargo. So here we are at the back of the rig. You probably still see more similarities. You can see the big spare tire back here. And you can probably tell just by the location of certain things that the door swings out and the glass must swing up. Also, note the toe pins down there and the rear bumper. Those are add-ons. Those are upgrades from a package. The standard ones are still there. It still has the toe pins and stuff, but the standard bumper is a little less steel and aggressive looking. It's a little more, I don't know, softer? I don't know the word. Anyway, but let's open this up. So this swings out, but I want to show you something. It swings way out. So it's completely out of the way. It's a good probably 30 degrees or so away from 90-degree parallel. So very nicely done there. Big piston on there makes it really easy to open and close. That's a good plus. This just pops up, as you would expect. So this part stays with this when you take the roof off. That part stays with the Bronco. So there you go, and then now you're looking at the cargo area. So all of these bags are the bags that are made to store the doors and the roof, etc., and then they stack right along here like I was talking about. So really kind of a cool setup. You can get a little cargo cover that clips in over here and does its thing right here. There's tie downs. So if you look right here, it's a big, substantial, heavy tie down. Those are on each corner, all four. And then underneath here, you have your jack and a few other extras. It is a screw jack. So if you own one of these, I would very much recommend that you figure out like a high lift or something hydraulic. Just because that little screw jack is going to be a pain in the ass anywhere you're going to be changing a tire, which is most likely not going to be on the street. So, you know, it's just my own little FYI, my own little words of advice. And that's true of everything, by the way. If you have a big vehicle that's high off the ground like this, those little scissor jacks, screw jacks, whatever you want to call them, they suck. All right. Anyway, so you can get an idea of the cargo area. It is very much commensurate with a Rubicon Unlimited, or a Wrangler Unlimited is what I should have said. So you have cargo lights back here. There's a couple of 12-volt plugs, a few other things. This does have a stereo upgrade, so there's a couple of extra speakers back here, subwoofers, etc. Very, very well done. I really like this setup. It's classic in terms of Jeep's been doing this for a long time. They're doing it, and it looks really good. So there you go. Let's go look at the inside a little. So I know that I usually go to the front seat first, but I want to look at the back seats because they're very, very interesting. There's a couple things I want to show you. First off, I'm going to try to do this without using my hands to grab the grab bar, so this might look a little awkward. But here's me getting in. So you see it sits high, but you can see with this seat back for my size, I'm 6'3", my knees are just touching it. So I am actually fairly comfortable back here. If I do this, put my feet under the seat, it's actually pretty okay. I wouldn't want to do a long road trip like this, but it's not bad at all. Could be way worse. So you can get 3 across back here, and if you want to, I would not knock you for doing that. Now I want to show you the seat folding down. This I am going to have to set my coffee down for. So I grab the handle back here, and I forgot to pop the headrest down. So did you note how they folded forward and down? So see the bottom part, look at that. See how that folds forward and down? That creates very close to a flat surface with the back of the cargo. There's only maybe this much difference in height. That's a big deal because that means that you can get more stuff in here easier. So that's a pretty cool setup. I really like that. That was some smart thinking on Ford's part. This is open underneath otherwise, so you can stuff things under there if you need to. Let's go look at the front. Oh, don't forget the coffee, bro. All right, so up front, it's a lot easier. It was definitely easier to get in. You have this grab right here. On the passenger side, there's the same thing. There's also one in the middle right here. This is more of a oh shoot bar. Try to be as family friendly as possible. This is more of an oh shoot bar. This is more of a I'm getting in and out. This does sit pretty high, so you do have that. Then on the interior here, you have Bronco uniqueness. It's very Bronco as far as it's square and blocky versus the way Ford's pickup trucks have been going, which are a little more refined. That's because this is supposed to be a tough vehicle, so the square blockiness creates that feeling. But otherwise, it has a lot of the same or very similar screens. It has a huge virtual driver screen here. The speedometer is physical, moving like this, but there's digital, etc. over there. Huge infotainment that's very easy to use. Then you have down here by the shifter at the bottom of it, you have the four-wheel drive controls. So this controls the transfer case, basically. You have 2 high, 4 high, 4 low, and 4 automatic, which I talked about. And GOAT modes. GOAT is a Ford thing. It's basically your all-terrain modes. So you tell it, what am I trying to deal with? Snow, sand, what? And then up here, along here, you have these buttons. These basically control the differentials. So you have the disconnect, then you have your front locker, rear locker, and then you have some extra turning radius add-on. So basically what it does is it starts braking inside wheels when you're turning. Gives you much tighter turning radius when you're off the road. And traction control, and then the Duke's lights, so hazards. You know why I named it that, right? Yeah. Anyway, you have a bunch of auxiliary buttons up here, so you can add things from the factory or at the dealership or aftermarket or whatever, and they run across here. These are all ready to go and hook up. You have mirrors and whatnots over here. You can run puddle lights, lots of stuff in here. Great entertainment system. This is the Bang & Olufsen upgrade for the stereo. Wonderful setup. There's a 12-volt plug up here for just in case. USB plugs, I should say. USB plugs up there. More USBs down here. 12-volt is in here in the center console, which also has some of my mail that I don't want to forget. Now, doors and windows. The door locks are controlled on the door itself, but when the door is gone, what do you do, right? since the door has to come off, they didn't want too many controls on it because you don't want it to bang around and get broken. So all the windows are over here. You know, Jeep has them up here. Ford put them right here. Also, the mirror adjustment is over here. So you use a little button over here. You have bungee pockets. You have, you know, netted pockets. And I think that's about all I have to show you. Most of the roof panels, as I said, they come off just by twisting these things and they come loose, right? So there's one clip on each, one on each side on the back one, and then these turn, one in each corner basically, to loosen them so that you can just lift them off. And the way I've been doing is I just open the door and lift them off like that. And they're pretty lightweight. They are felt lined. So it's not just straight up plastic like in Jeep. It is felt lined. And I noticed that this is not very, but surprisingly quiet on the highway. It's also very mannered on the highway. It drives pretty well on the highway, despite all of this extra stuff on it. So I was really surprised by that. Also, going through the puddles that we went through and then the car wash just a little while ago, I didn't have any kind of leaking at all from these. These fit very, very tightly. It takes a little bit of effort to really push these down and lock it in. That's pulling them down together and making sure there's a good seal. So nicely done there, nicely done overall. I'm very impressed with this truck. So there you go. That's what I got. This is the 2021 Ford Bronco. I said Ford Bronco. I did not say Bronco Sport. There is a big difference, literally. Anyway, 2021 Ford Bronco, really nicely done. Ford did a great job on this. It is a good piece of competition for the Jeep Wrangler. Finally, somebody has some real competition for that. This is a great rig. Now, I didn't talk about pricing because this is actually a pre-production prototype. So it's technically a production prototype. It has a VIN number, but it is not for resale. So the Monroney they gave me has no numbers on it. So I had to just go to the website and try to spec it. And that took a little effort because the first edition is no longer available for sale. So average sale price on a first edition is roughly $65,000 before any sort of dealer markup, which I definitely guarantee you're going to deal with. But as far as speccing it as close to this as possible for somebody who wants to get on that list and order it now, so these are on back order. You will not find one, you're not likely to find one on a dealer lot. But if you order one now, it won't take too long. Ford is saying they're only out about 2 months right now. So that's not bad at all, considering that there are people who ordered these in November of last year. And here we are in August, and they're just now taking delivery. So anyway, if you order this as close to this spec as I can get it, you're going to pay pretty close to that $65,000. It's about $64,900, give or take. So, and that's with delivery. So to spec it like this, you're going to be at about that $65,000 mark. So that's great. That's a really good price. You're going to spend that on a Wrangler Rubicon anyway. So there you go. Comparable, I'm not going to say because it's a little too early, and I don't want people to think that this is either a Jeep killer or a total failure, because I think it's a real close match. I think you're looking at them just like this, and one is only very barely topping out the other. It's a very, very close race. There's a couple of differences. There are some things about this that are much more ergonomic than the Jeep, and there are some things about the Jeep that are much more capable than this. So it's really hard to say one is better than the other, because it really does depend on what do you want. If you're a Moab rock crawler and you're going to go do things and you want to do it from the factory with no alterations, you probably need a Rubicon. If you want to go out and have a good time and you want to have a smooth highway ride in the process of that, and then you want to have capability once you get there, so you can do more than just drive down the dirt road. This is definitely matching what you want. And then you can have the rest of the fun times that are equal on both fronts, with the roof and the doors and everything coming off. So, you know, you set up a campsite, you strip all that off and you dump it somewhere, you know, hide it in your tent or whatever. You can take off and have a good time in this, and it's a lot of fun. So there you go. That's all I've got. I'm not going to keep rambling. This is the full-sized Ford Bronco for 2021, and wonderfully well done. So there you go. Talk to you again soon.